Battle Royales. It's today's craze, a runaway train with no signs of stopping, and that's the great and terrible truth. Once shackled to the confines of early access, they've now become a contender, if not the champion, for industry most played. They've been slugging it out for years now, and it's only getting more competitive. H1Z1, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds,
Fortnite,
Blackout,
Radical
the
Heights,
Darwin Project,
The Culling,
Apex Legends,
Dying Light,
Ring of
Bad Blood,
Asylum,
Firestorm.
They're all just a part of the buzzword, Battle Royale, but many of them fail. But then you just have to wonder, how do some of them succeed when others fall flat? Recently, Apex Legends had a surprise release and was very successful, 10 million players in its first 3 days. Fortnite took weeks to reach that same number, and then 50 million. In today's video, we're going to highlight what it takes to be successful in the Battle Royale climate.
Path, are we clear?
This is my favorite part. Exciting!
And the best way to do that is to look back before mods, across mediums, across borders, back to the very beginning of Battle Royales. One of the earliest ancestors is a game you may know of called Dynablaster, releasing in 1991, the name for the European release of BOMBERMAN. Just local multiplayer fun, but it was a simpler time of strategically placing bombs to kill your friends, a joy I reveled in as a kid. But that's Battle Royale in a nutshell, at a stretch, more in feeling at least. The actual name Battle Royale can be traced back to a cult classic novel by the same title, written by author Koshun Takami in 1999. A year later, a film adaptation was made. 8 years after that, a book was published called The Hunger Games, and 4 years later, it was adapted to film. The Hunger Games popularized the quote-unquote last man standing formula to a wider audience. Essentially, this was the inception for mods created in standalone games like Minecraft, Arma 2 and 3, and of course DayZ and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, both of which would be developed to become their own standalone titles later on. But Battle Royales as we knew it started with H1Z1 by the developer DAYBREAK Game Company. The development involved numerous splits of the project into separate games, but what we now know as H1Z1 today was released to early access in January 15 of 2015. What followed was a development of absolute turmoil, a game that was a mess, something that I discuss further in my history of the game called The Untold Death of H1Z1. Because of this, it's no wonder that the player base slowly dried up when a competitor reached the stage. Released the 23rd of March 2017, it was the patient zero for the climate we are now in. PUBG, if buggy, was a fun experience. They had the entire banquet to themselves after H1Z1's self-inflicted decline. That is, right up until September 26, 2017. This, of course, was when Fortnite pivoted from PvE to PvP, and in doing so changed the market and the industry forever. It was an inevitable event. PUBG had a monopoly with an imperfect experience after all. Fortnite polished it and innovated with building. The art style brought in a more casual audience. From there, PUBG would always play catch-up, or lawsuit depending. With Fortnite becoming a cultural phenomenon, the formula was inevitably copied though. Some games succeeded through innovation, others repeated the mistakes of PUBG. One of the reasons for Fortnite's wider success is its art style. Being more stylized, it brings in a wider audience and is far easier to recognize. But of course, the art direction is subjective. The tug of war between stylized and realistic has been around for much longer than Battle Royales have. I'm not here to argue their creative merits, but from a business perspective, Fortnite does it best. Being stylized allows for a wider audience, more players meaning more money. Here's a fun fact, when the Simpsons were being designed, they were purposefully made yellow to stand out when flicking through channels. This same logic was used in designing the set for the TV show Friends, the purple walls making it more recognizable. The ones that stand out here are stylized. The ones that are realistic, they start to blend together. Being realistic will bring in a certain crowd, but it won't bring in the widest crowd. Which one stands out for you? You want a game to be evergreen, to be recognizable, so that it can bring in more money for a longer period of time. These are both meant to be the sequel to Team Fortress, but one of which was cancelled and the other one has a player base that lasted over a decade. We're more familiar with TF2 to the right, a decade-old game that mastered the class-based shooter. Its art style was absolutely instrumental to its success, but it was also helped with updates. Think of updates as the lives of a game. A good update will replenish the game's lives. A good update will be substantial enough to keep players playing. The best kind will be enough of a spectacle to bring in new players. And being stylized allows for more creative freedom in these updates. You can have a rocket jump through fissures, or have players travel to another dimension. This gap in what they can do here is another nail in the coffin for PUBG. It was new, rough, and was the only option for players after the Battle Royale experience started to take root. And then Fortnite was released several months later, polished, innovative, and provided a similar experience though, but with more stylization, more pizzazz. Though it was similar enough that Bluehole sued. The problem for PUBG, in addition to a lack of updates, was that gamers now had more options. Do I order a steak, or do I order the fish? For a lot of people, that choice was easy because the stylization, and now the updates. PUBG was adding in some new boots, and Fortnite's had a chicken costume. This went from cosmetics to events. They were better in Fortnite.
Making contact with enemy.
To use an actual timely example, let's talk about Apex Legends and the introduction of that revolutionary ping mechanic, breaking down borders of those in and without a mic. Fortnite's, of course, then soon after creates a mechanic very similar. They stay on top of it by releasing content faster than the competition and adapting their game to match what's new. We saw this strategy early on with their pivot from PvE to PvP. It's been working well. In comparison, PUBG is really the example of what not to do now. You can't serve an unfinished meal anymore, not when there's another restaurant next door, or two in the case of Apex Legends. Nothing stops diners from jumping ship, especially when they're serving a similar but maybe more complete experience. Updates also give a job to streamers, YouTubers, and other entertainers surrounding the game. This is the most important thing. When a new update drops, even if it's just a weapon, those entertainers jump on it and make content surrounding it. People are searching for it and will come by their content, so it's a win-win situation for both content creators and the developers. Content creators can create a job for themselves surrounding the ever-changing game, and in doing so, it gives free advertising for the game. Battle Royale is really well suited for this kind of entertainment culture. It's unpredictable and full of variety. A player drops off with the odds stacked against them, having to scavenge to survive, fight tooth and nail to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It's ever-changing, it's fun, and viewers love it. If art style's the dressing, then mechanics are the actual salad. The mechanics are what's going to keep bringing people back. Battle Royales are built on people needing to develop their skills, to become better at the game, to slowly fight their way to the top. But because of this bar people need to reach before even having fun, it means new players may not bother to stick around. This logic, though, does mean people become increasingly attached to a specific Battle Royale game that they're best at, not wanting to sink in the time or the money to get to the same level in other games. Fortnite has been noted to try to lower that bar, and that only makes sense. By catering to new players and making their first few games as gripping as possible, it means that they'll boost their player base. But it's a fine line to walk. If the skill ceiling is too low, players won't stick around because there won't be a payoff for getting good. When Battle Royales go too far either way, they can divide their communities. Fortnite attained success through innovating on the standard Battle Royale template up until that point by adding building. This added a new layer of skill for players that was immediately accessible. Games since are all trying to give their own take on the formula to find their audience, just like Fortnite did. Apex Legends has specialized, lowered player counts, and made things easy, as well as added classes with their own unique abilities. Plus it has a robust ping system, a system that Fortnite copied soon after. It's something new for the genre, and I think that's why they found quite a lot of success. The never-ending debate regarding Royale is an elementary question though. What is fun? And for a long time, BR games were centered around this concept of long downtimes and instant death scenarios. A game like PUBG allows a player the option to drop down and simply loot for 20 minutes if they feel like it, often without seeing another player. Erangel and Miramar are large maps after all. Players may travel half the map, picking up everything they need, yet ultimately succumbing to a quick death at the hand of another player who simply sat behind a wall that player A happened to pass by at the wrong time. One may think this is a waste of time, and another may think this is pretty captivating.
Fuck that.
The debate is often black and white, as most players seem to either love long, isolated BR games or want something on a smaller, faster scale. What isn't a question though is that the payoff for a long tactical game seems to be, in the long term, far more rewarding.
I'm healing. Yeah, boys!
At least a few popular streamers have gone on record saying that the style of PUBG actually has the highest payoff in the end, with its intense, heart-throbbing tension in its final circles. All because the lead up to get to them has a far larger time investment, and often it's more tactically challenging on top. The trend of slow and methodical stayed put like this for a long time, until games like Fortnite and Apex started to either lower total player counts, make smaller maps, or increase traversal or mobility options such as adding in zip lines. Vehicles were not enough for PUBG, and soon they too saw the impending change. Yet they didn't react very quickly, and that really hurt them in the end, even when they introduced smaller maps and weekly game modes that often tore down the PUBG script. Apex took innovation the furthest, I think, adding classes and abilities, eliminating fall damage, creating a movement system based around sliding, and encouraged a rocket-fast pace unmatched by other games, while still retaining the fundamental AAA-ness of its inspiration, Titanfall. Is this the future, where BR games are more to the point, more compact, more fast, and conclude quicker? Does that take away from what BR stands for though, or is it a positive side effect of changing consumer preferences?
This is mine.
Yours? If it wasn't for me, you'd still be laying down on the job.
Did your weapon malfunction? Or did you?
Apex Legends is AAA quality, but that isn't an edge on its own. Often experiences like these are packaged within expensive AAA games. Firestorm with Battlefield 5, Blackout with Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Instead, Apex Legends, like many in the past, have adopted to monetize the game itself through loot boxes, where the game releases free to capture a binge-style audience and supplement future updates more consistently than PUBG ever did through simple loot box monetization. This is business after all. Thankfully, they only give items that don't give players an edge on those who choose not to shell out. This monetization model, it works well in the market because it takes away the monetary barrier of entry, allowing for a larger player base in the end. A player base which may, over time, buy stuff, at least theoretically. In saying all that, it's safe to say that this trend is going to be around for quite some time. But the gold rush is over. The genre has started to stabilize. It's easy to say that it's been oversaturated at this point, but I'd argue that that's pretty much like any new popular thing. It's really easy to be a clone, buggy, and incomplete, but those are not the success stories anymore. They're the terrible side of Battle Royale. So is Battle Royale a flash in the pan, or is it here to stay? What was great about Battle Royale? What was terrible? And what does the future hold for this interesting concept for a video game? I hope you can help me answer that down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. Take care until our next video.